Hola, badass writers. I'm here to answer your questions. I got a lot of survey responses, and I want to thank everyone for them. Um, and I'm just going to start answering questions. This is about writer's block, essentially, which we all suffer from, and it's basically, I don't know what to write, or nothing's coming, nothing's happening, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm here to demystify that a little bit. I wrote my first play and it got produced. It's a solo show called Liberty City. And before I wrote that, I had been trying for 5 years to write. I would sit down, I would pick up a pen, I would go to the journal, and I'd try to journal. And my hands would start shaking, and I would get crazy nervous and emotional. I have no idea why, right? At the time I didn't. And it was very disturbing because I knew there was a story I wanted to tell. I was full of stories, but nothing was happening. So I then went and did the artist way. I was like, oh, okay, I've identified the moment in which somebody told me I didn't have a right to write. Okay, let's do the morning pages, like she said. Got to the morning pages, weeping, 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 couldn't do them. The morning pages is you come down and you write 3 pages longhand without stopping. And the thing that freed me up that Julia Cameron said was, don't leave the page. If you don't have anything to write, write, I don't know what to 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 write. That's my head of what writing was. Writing is this magnificent thing that happens and you sit and it looks like this and it comes out perfectly. Writing is the way you speak, period, end of conversation. Writing is telling a story. What story do you want to tell? Tell me about it. That's what the morning pages taught me, that whatever came up was writing. Good, bad, or indifferent. Whatever came up was writing. You are the vessel for the story. You're not here directing the story. If you're having problems writing a story, it's because you're trying to direct it. You have an agenda about what this story is. Now, I don't know anything about that kind of writing, right? I remember Lynn Nottage and I had this conversation. She starts with an outline and goes with that and creates characters. And I was like, I always start from interviewing people I know and remembering stories that I've been told from my ancestors. And I think of storytelling as sitting down and listening to my grandmother tell me what happened. And then I'm just recording what she's saying. That's how I view storytelling. And Julia Cameron, in The Artist Way, also she wrote this in The Right to Write. She's also by Julia Cameron. And I used to teach a lot of stuff in that book during my retreats, which so many of you have taken. Just in case anybody's joining now, we are talking about how to write your way through writer's block. And in Julia Cameron's Write, R-I-G-H-T, to Write, W-R-I-T-E, she's really great. She has this exercise where she says, imagine yourself sitting against a tree. And your back is leaned and you got your journal. And there's a wise old storyteller leaning against the other side of the tree, and you can't see him, but he's telling you stories. Who is that person? At first, it was a homeless lady that was on the boulevard close to my house that we would always pass. I imagined her telling me how she ended up homeless and crazy and talking to herself, and she had stories to tell. I just imagined her, and then I listened. If you think of yourself as the vessel, and there's stories that want to come through you, and they need you as the tool, it makes it a lot easier. So the first rule of beating writer's block is learn how to come to that page and stay on that page, no matter what, and not judge what comes up. The first thing that comes to mind, write it down. There is no such thing as bad writing. You have to write 500 pages to get a good 200 pages. But within that 500, there will be a bunch of amazing stories that you never would have gotten to if you didn't allow yourself to sort of throw up on the page and not have an agenda. Allow yourself to wander around on the blank page, and not just in your head. Whatever comes up, write it down. Right? You know how when you try and meditate and the grocery list and all the stuff you got to do comes in your head, and the meditation leader calls that monkey brain or whatever. Well, as a writer, here's your chance to take all that monkey brain and put it down. It doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to be in order. The first thing that comes to mind, oh my God, I forgot to get my soy creamer from Trader Joe's. Now I'm going to have to go to Trader Joe's. But wait, it's really crowded on Saturday. Oh, and that security guard always looks at me like he lost a child, and I don't want to go there. And oh my God. And now I've told a story. That's what happens when I go to the page. I just write whatever comes up. Eventually, if you have the courage to stay on the page, the story that wants to be told will show up. If you haven't read Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, please do. Please do that, and The Artist Way and The Right to Write. You could work yourself through this whole writing process and teaching yourself just with those books, like actually doing the exercises, not just talking about it. Or you can come take a retreat or writing class with me, and I'll walk you through it. But the thing that Rilke talks about in Letters to a Young Poet is that this poet sends him all this writing, love poetry or whatever. And he's like, this is forced. This isn't coming from your heart. This is an agenda that you set for yourself. I'm going to write a love poem. And then you do. But it's not coming from a need to connect to a particular woman and get her, right? It's not attached to a story that needs to be told. People always come to my retreats with a story. And I was like, that story that you think you decided you're going to write about, the reason it's not happening is because that's not the story that wants to be told. You actually have to get out of the way of the story and allow it to flow through you. You have to become a great listener. And for actors, that's sometimes really hard. And I work mostly with actors turned writers. But the gift that actors have is they know how to become other people. So instead of becoming the other person, just sit down and listen to the other person. Visualize them in your mind's eye. If you can't do that, go interview them. If it's your first time writing, I always say, whenever you write, write what you know. So I'm never starting from scratch and just creating bland people that I know nothing about. People are often a combination of people I've met. They're a combination of family members. But I start with asking people their stories. And even if I don't use the actual story that someone has told me, it will trigger a story. It will trigger something in me that is familiar. Now, before I keep going, I want to know if you guys have any questions about writer's block, because you know I could talk. I'm talking about the process of allowing the story to come through you. And the first step is the morning pages, and to give yourself permission to just stay on the page and say, I don't know what to write, and to think of writing as just listening for the story that wants to be told, right? I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. I am no longer a Jehovah's Witness, but I grew up as one. And there was a very interesting philosophy they had about how the Bible was written. And I remember being a little girl going, well, how y'all know God wrote this? I mean, he did not come down and write, okay? That Jesus did not write, okay? I mean, I looked through the book. Ain't nobody told me Jesus started writing. It was like he came, he walked on the water, he turned water into wine, he talked to the prostitutes, he told people to love each other, and then the Pharisees hung him on a cross. That's all I got. Nowhere in there does it say the Son of God sat down and wrote the Bible. Nowhere. Now, I got in trouble because I was like 10 years old asking these questions at the Kingdom Hall. I was like, where does it say that? I am looking for it. So how do we know this is really from him? Because this could be like a whole hoax or whatever. This could be the white man put the Bible together for slavery. I had a very dramatic sense of humor. But I kept asking this question, and then one of the elders pulled me aside, and he said, wise men who had made mistakes before they started following JC, Jesus Cristo. Before they started following JC, learned how to sit and listen to him and write down what he said. That's what the apostles did. And I would imagine they let Jesus get killed, so they wasn't really guilty. So they were really channeling him. A very active imagination. But that's how it was explained to me. He changed their lives so they would sit down and imagine their teacher talking to them. And that's how they wrote the New Testament. And the Old Testament was Moses going into the wilderness. Let's think of Moses' wilderness as the morning pages. He went up to the mountain and he sat there until something came. And he didn't leave until something came to him. And in his words, it was the voice of God. Was it? Was it wisdom? Or was it the story that needed to be told to his people to get them out of the damn desert and survive? Whatever it was. The story has captivated us, the Ten Commandments, have captivated us because at the time that it was written, the world desperately needed these rules. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like it came out of a necessity to survive and to stop killing each other and to build a civilization and to, unify people around common values. It is a story that has lasted throughout time because the same lessons we still need, right? Every holy book, apparently somebody came from God and channeled through this man and wrote. So these men opened themselves up to hear the story that needed to be told. So whether you believe in God or the universe, or if you open yourself up to the right kind of goodness, it will come to you. Learning how to think of yourself as somebody who's just a recorder of the story being told to you and allowing the story to flow through you. That's it. That's it. So if it's God, cool. If it's your great-great-great-great-grandmother, cool. If it's that lady, the little lady down the street from you who feeds all the cats, that would be me. Although my neighbor today told me, I said, I'm turning into a cat lady. He's like, nah, you too cute. You cat woman. Because I feed the stray cats. And I was like, I think I love you so much. He was like, yeah, you cute. You cat woman. You just be helping the cats out. And I was like, okay. Sometimes I imagine that crazy neighbor just telling me stories. And he always has a story every time I see him. He's like, I saw you out here feeding the cats, and then the man came and tried to stop you. You like, cats need love too. And I was like, you saw that? So I actually have learned to sit by that tree, like I talked about in Julia Cameron's Right to Write, and imagine my neighbor telling me what he saw. Because every time he tells me a story in the neighborhood, it's something that I saw, but he saw it completely differently. And it's really interesting the way he saw it. I'm just like, and then there was an argument between the two neighbors. I was like, yeah, they always yell at each other. He was like, no, it was family feud. One person was trying to be right. So when I sit down, I was like, oh, he just saw the whole argument as a game show. I sit down and I think about him. I was like, tell me what happened. Just what had happened. Just tell me what happened. And I'm just going to write it down. Okay. Writer's block. Get out of your head about what it is a story is supposed to be. Just get out of your head about that. Get out of your head. The story that wants to be told is waiting for you to get out of the way. So I want you to go to the morning pages right now. The morning pages are wherever you go write. You want it to be your computer? I think writing longhand is better, but if the computer is easier for you, then let it be easy. Okay? Here's one way to get out of your head about what writing should be. Go through your Facebook posts. Look at which Facebook, and you can go to your wall, and then you can click on activity. And it'll show you all your Facebook posts and all the responses. The Facebook post that got the most responses is a story that wants to be told. Start writing it. When you post on Facebook, when you get mad about something, that's writing. My blogs, if you go to my website, aprilyvettethompson.com, where I just go on rants. I have blog posts where I'm like, disclaimer, I'm about to cuss people out. Those get so many hits, and I turn them into blogs. I just cut and paste it. Because I'm speaking out of a necessity. I'm so mad at something that Orange Agent has done. I'm so mad that children don't have this. I'm so mad. When you get out of your head about how writing is supposed to come out of you, then writing can come out of you. If you can write Facebook posts, you can write a story. It's the same thing. It's the kernel from which the story grows. So get to those morning pages. Get to those morning pages. Do you want to turn the notes on Facebook into a morning page? Then create notes in Facebook, something that you can keep all in one place and just talk about whatever comes up on your mind. You ain't even got to publish it on Facebook. Use that as your morning pages, or go to your notepad right now, or go to your email. You have to stay on there for 3 pages and just keep writing. And whatever comes up, you write down. Don't keep it in your head. Don't judge it. Don't edit it. Just write it down. Don't think, just write. Don't think, just write. And even if you have nothing to write, you are going to write, I don't know what the hell to write. I hate this. I don't know what the hell to write. I hate this, until something comes up. Because you have to dump all of that I can't out of the way so that I can enter. And you can start listening. That's it. Do I have any questions? Well, that was the big question on the surveys. How do I get started if I've never written before? I don't know what to write about. Allow, allow, allow. You can go to the Dream Unlock, and I'm typing it in comments.com, and you can sign up for the free Badass Writers newsletter or the free Badass Writer class, and that will lead you to send me your questions, and next time I go to FB Live, I will answer your question personally. All right, this was Soyini's question. Thank you, Soyini. Who else asked me this question? Where to start? Shona Tucker asked me this question, and Mike Mulligan asked me this question, where to start. So this is my response. This is for y'all. Love you. Mean it. Anybody got any questions before I jump off? Anybody? Anybody? All right, people. Super gorgeous. Have a beautiful Saturday. Bye.